The full true story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. In January 1959, a group of 10 experienced ski hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute in Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, Russia, set out on an expedition to reach Otorten, a mountain in the northern Ural Mountains. The trek was rated as Category 3, the most difficult grade, and all members were highly experienced in winter hiking and mountaineering. Igor Dyatlov, 23, the group's leader, an experienced hiker and radio engineering student. The pass would later be named after him. Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22, a radio engineering student and Dyatlov's close friend. Lyudmila Dubinina, 21, an economics student known for her toughness and resilience. Alexander Kolovatov, 24, a geology student and metallurgy expert. Rustem Slobodin, 23, a mechanical engineering student and athlete. Yuri Krivonishenko, 23, a civil engineering student who had worked at a nuclear plant. Yuri Doroshenko, 21, a factory worker and experienced hiker. Nicolas Thibault Brignolel, 23, a military engineering student. Semyon Alexander Zolotaryov, 37, the oldest member, an experienced hiking instructor who joined the group last minute. Yuri Yudin, 21, the only survivor. He turned back on January 28th due to severe joint and rheumatism pain, a decision that saved his life. Jan, 23, the group departs by train from Sverdlovsk. Jan 25-27, they travel by truck, then on foot to the last inhabited settlement, Vijay. Jan 28, Yuri Yudin, feeling unwell, turns back. The remaining 9 continue. Tran 31. The group arrives at the edge of the highland area and begins caching surplus food and equipment for their return journey. This would be the last time they were seen alive. February 1. Contrary to their plan, they apparently began ascending the slope of Kolat Siakal, which translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. Due to worsening weather, they likely lost their bearings and decided to set up camp on the mountainside to wait out the storm, rather than moving 1.5 kilometer downhill to the relative shelter of the forest. Evening of February 1, they pitched their tent. This is the last thing they would ever do together. The hikers were expected to telegraph a message to their sports club by February 12th. When no word arrived, it wasn't immediately considered alarming, as delays were common. Only after relatives demanded action did a rescue operation begin on February 20th. On February 26, 1959, the search party found the tent on the slopes of Kolat Siakal. The scene was bizarre and immediately alarming. The tent was cut open from the inside. The hikers' belongings, including warm clothes and boots, were left behind. Footprints from bare feet or socks led away from the tent downhill towards the edge of the nearby forest. The tent itself was severely damaged, as if from a struggle, but there were no signs of a fight with outsiders. The bodies were found in different locations over the following 2 months. First 5 bodies, found Feb 26-27 near the cedar tree. 1. Yuri Krivonishenko, 23, and Yuri Doroshenko, 21, found under a large cedar tree near the remains of a small fire. They were barefoot, dressed only in their underwear. Cause of death, hypothermia. 2. Igor Dyatlov, 23, found 300 meters from the cedar tree towards the tent. He appeared to be crawling back towards the campsite. Cause of death, hypothermia. Rustem Slobodin, 23, found between the cedar and the tent. He had a minor skull fracture, but it was not considered fatal. Cause of death, hypothermia. For Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22, found nearest to the tent, also seemingly crawling back. Cause of death, hypothermia. The final 4 bodies found May 4th under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. 1. Lyudmila Dubinina, 22, Alexander Kolovatov, 23, Nicolas Thibault Brignolel, 23. 4. Semyon Zolotaryov, 37. These 4 were far better dressed, having taken clothes from the first victims. Their injuries were horrific and could not be explained by hypothermia or a fall. Thibault Brignolel had a catastrophic skull fracture. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had massive chest fractures, so severe that Dubinina's heart was ruptured, and Zolotaryov had multiple ribs broken. The force required was compared to a car crash. Dubinina was also missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. This was later determined to be post-mortem predation by small animals and scavengers. Kolevatov's cause of death was less clear, but consistent with the trauma suffered by the others. Crucially, there were no external wounds, bruises, or signs of a struggle that would correspond to the massive internal injuries. It was as if they were hit by an immense concussive force without being struck. The investigation and theories. The Soviet criminal investigation was closed in May 1959, citing that the hikers met their death due to a compelling natural force they were unable to overcome. The files were classified. This vagueness fueled decades of speculation. Leading scientific theories. Avalanche, the most accepted modern theory. A 2021 study by Swiss and Russian scientists concluded a small, rare slab avalanche could have occurred, triggered by the hikers cutting into the slope to set up their tent, combined with katabatic winds loading snow above them and poor visibility. This would explain the blunt force trauma, being tossed into rocks and debris in the ravine, and the urgent, chaotic escape from the tent. The avalanche theory was initially dismissed in 1959 because the slope was not steep enough, but the new research argues the conditions were just right for a rare event, katabatic wind, a variant of the avalanche theory. A sudden, powerful gust of wind, a katabatic wind, could have knocked the tent flat or created a terrifying, suffocating noise, causing the group to panic and cut their way out. The subsequent search for shelter in the 30°C, 22°C weather led to their hypothermic deaths, and a later small avalanche in the ravine caused the traumatic injuries. Infrasound. Low-frequency sound waves from wind interacting with the mountain peak could have induced feelings of terror, panic, and physical discomfort, causing irrational flight. This explains the panic but not the physical injuries. Military tests. Accident. The area was on the flight path for missile tests. Theories suggest they stumbled upon a secret test, were poisoned by radiation, some clothing had trace levels, or were killed by a concussive weapon like an air blast bomb. The lack of burns or shrapnel wounds makes this difficult to prove. Animal attack, e.g. Yeti Mansi, dismissed due to a complete lack of animal tracks or bite marks on the first bodies. The Mansi people, indigenous to the area, were investigated and cleared. Paranormal activity. UFOs, ball lightning, or other mysterious energy forces are often cited, but lack any physical evidence. All 9 hikers died on the night of February 1, 1959, or in the early hours of February 2, 1959. The victims: 1. Yuri Krivonishenko, 23, hypothermia 2. Yuri Doroshenko, 21, hypothermia 3. Igor Dyatlov, 23, hypothermia 4. Rustem Slobodin, 23, hypothermia with a minor skull fracture, 5. Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22, hypothermia 6. Nicolas Thibault Brignolel, 23, fatal skull fracture 7. Lyudmila Dubinina, 21, massive internal trauma, crushed chest, 8. Semyon Zolotaryov, 37, massive internal trauma, crushed chest. Yevgeny Alexander Kolevatov, 24, trauma, likely. The most plausible explanation, supported by modern scientific modeling, is a tragic and rapid sequence of events. A small avalanche or powerful wind slab struck the tent, causing panic and a frantic escape. Inadequately dressed, the group split up. The first 5 succumbed to hypothermia trying to make a fire. The remaining 4, better clothed, sought shelter in a ravine where a second, later avalanche or snow collapse buried them and caused the catastrophic internal injuries. The true, compelling natural force was likely a perfect storm of terrible weather, a precarious campsite, and a rare, tragic geological event. The mystery endures because the sequence of events was so unusual and the injuries so extreme, leaving room for imagination to fill the gaps in our understanding of that terrifying night on Kholat Shakhl.